Grand auspicious day and welcome to the Velvet Read. A big shout out to my lookers and lurkers and returners, those who are supporting me through this journey. I appreciate you being here. Your presence is appreciated, and thank you again for continuing this journey with me. Now today, we are delving into the Velvet Read of I Didn't Deserve a Better Life. I Required It. Year 4 abroad. I tell you how time has passed. And this one is personal, but it's also universal. You know, sometimes the universe be up at 4 a.m. with a flashlight and a highlighter. I was just laying there, couldn't sleep, mind doing what it does, and I got on TikTok like I do when the ancestors start nudging. I found myself reflecting on my journey 4 years ago. I made the decision to leave the USBS and move abroad, not for the sunshine and tacos, but because something deep inside me whispered, "You deserve a better life." The whisper got louder and louder the longer I stayed. But what I didn't have until recently was a language to separate my identity from my African American experience. And that came from a random late night TikTok scroll where I saw a post by a young brother named Justin Scott. He said something that stopped time for me. He said, "Deserve is a trap. Deserve keeps you begging. Deserve keeps you performing. What if instead you started living by what you require?" Woo! And what he said snatched my whole soul in the most tender and surgical way. He broke down the word deserve. And not just the meaning, but the trap inside of it. He said, deserve is a performance-based word. It's tied to submission, surrender, approval. You don't deserve love, you require it. You don't deserve peace, you require peace. Honey, I paused that little show I was looking at, put down my snack, and turned my whole spirit towards this message. Because in that moment I realized I've been living a whole life trying to deserve love, deserve a break, deserve wealth, deserve to be treated with care, deserve to be heard. And what that helped me see was that deserve makes you wait. It makes you perform, it makes you prove. It puts you at the bottom, hoping for a hand to pull you up. But requirement, honey, that's a whole vibration. That's a boundary. That's a command. And it's a commitment. And this piece is dedicated to the 4-year requirement that I placed on myself not knowing. And I share what I've learned with you so far. The gag is, it's not just the word deserve. Once I saw the vibration in that word, it cracked open the door to a whole dictionary of literary deception, honey. Deserve ain't the only word with spiritual handcuffs on it. So let's talk about it. Worth sounds empowering, right? But it's often used as a measuring stick. Know your worth still implies you're being weighed, judged, and validated. Value, same thing. It's marketplace language, commodity code. Value to whom? In what economy? Another one, and you might know this one, is earned. Whew. Whole word wrapped in capitalism and trauma. From love to labor, the word has been used to keep people in line for centuries. We don't even realize it, but these words program us to seek permission. These words carry frequencies, vibrational codes. Every time you say, I deserve, your cells wait for a yes. But when you say, I require, your soul steps into authority. Deserve is waiting for a door to open. Require is building the damn door frame. I always keep it real. And hearing this message from Justin Scott made me reflect on my own journey, especially during my Tia Nikki era. I spent years trying to be valued, trying to prove I was worth better clients, better treatment, better support. But I see now I was operating from deservedness, right? I was showing up hoping to be seen, hoping to be chosen, but not anymore, not now. Now I require alignment. I require reciprocity. I require ease, expansion, freedom, space, peace, and restoration. And you know what happens when you require instead of deserve? You get better. You get free. Require over deserve, it changes everything. Say you've been through hell and back, long days, betrayal, homelessness, spiritual trauma. The instinct is to say, I deserve rest, I deserve kindness. But that keeps you stuck in earning what should have already been yours. Flip it. I require rest, I require peace, I require support from people who don't drain me. Now you're not waiting, you're building a life that honors you. America defines this language, as I see it, as weaponized verbalization. Because that's what's happening all around us. People use language like knives, like grenades, not to connect, but to control, to dominate, to wound. We see it in families, in politics, on social media, in the workplace, and especially in the so-called land of the freedom America. There's a sickness in the language there. A culture that praises clapbacks over clarity, dominance over dialogue. Even within families, especially within families, people weaponize words because it's the only form of power they know. Not real power, not soul deep rooted power, but petty, performative power. Ego in a cheap suit. And it's generational, it's inherited. Emotional illiteracy passed down like a family recipe. Suppress, ignore, deny, explode, repeat. And when someone like me, or maybe even you, says no more and starts living from requirements instead of emotional ransom, it breaks the whole damn pattern. That's why this matters. Let's tell the truth. America never taught us emotional fluency. It taught us performance. It taught us hustle. It taught us grind. It taught us how to earn love, perform to be seen, perform to be praised, perform to be safe. And buried underneath all of that, this is a toxic ass word we threw around like confetti. Deserve. I deserve better. They don't deserve me. I deserve happiness. And every time we say it, what we're really saying is, I hope I've done enough. I hope I've been enough, quiet enough, strong enough, soft enough, black enough, smart enough, palatable enough to be allowed something that should have been mine at birthright. And I'm done with that mindset. Finished, burnt it down. Deserve is a carrot, a lie, a performance treadmill that keeps you running towards something that's already yours. That's why Justin Scott's word hit me so hard. Require. I don't deserve peace. I require peace. I don't deserve wealth. I require it. I don't deserve love. I am love. And what I require is reciprocal resonance, or get the hell out of my field. See, When you shift from deserve to require, the energy changes. Your spine straightens, your vision clears. You stop asking for permission and you start creating from sovereignty instead of lack. Because deserve asks you to wait, remember, but require commands you to act. Let me tell you what America never gave us: space to feel without punishment, to be angry without consequence, to be sad without labels, to be soft without exploitation. So instead, we got trained to react over and over again. That's the real American emotional curriculum, reactionary living. They don't teach breath work in school. They don't teach emotional regulation in church. And they sure as hell don't teach healing in the workplace. Leave your emotions at the door. Instead, we learn how to hide, swallow, suppress, and then explode. Rage on TikTok, cry in secret. Lie to your own damn self just to keep functioning. That's emotional illiteracy by design. And when you grow up in a place where everything is a threat, poverty, racism, judgment, surveillance, rejection don't get the luxury of responding with grace. You develop quick reflexes. You learn to bark back, to armor up. But here's the shift, fam. When you change your language from deserve to require, you don't just change your vocabulary. You rewrite your whole damn nervous system playbook. Because require isn't begging, it's boundary. Require isn't explosive, it's sovereign. Require doesn't seek approval, it gives instruction. So if I require peace, I don't have to explain why I'm quiet. If I require dignity, I don't debate my worth. If I require rest, I don't need to earn it with exhaustion. This is the new emotional OS, not based in survival, but based on selection, not reaction, but resonance. I don't live in defense anymore, I live in design. I build the frequency I want, and everything that doesn't match it falls away effortlessly. There's a silent violence in how we speak, especially in America. It's not always fist, it's not always screaming. Sometimes it's a slick jab dressed up in honesty. Sometimes it's a shrug that you don't matter. Sometimes it's just silence, cold, calculated, withholding. That's what I call weaponized verbalization. When people use words or the lack of them to cut instead of connect. When they offload pain they never processed. When they name you something you never agreed to be. Living in Mexico has taught me something that America never did. How to speak with the soul in mind. How to move from ease, not edge. Back in the U.S., everyone's a little too ready for war. Everything is a debate, a drag, a clapback. People don't talk, they unload. They don't respond, they react. And that's because emotional literacy was never part of the curriculum. In America, you learn to weaponize disappointment, sarcasm, silence, even shame. How about, I'm just keeping it real? But what they're really saying is, I don't know how to process this, so I'm making you responsible for my explosion. And you know what? I'm not holding that anymore. I've moved abroad, but not just for a better life, but because I required peace. I required tenderness. I required freedom without needing someone's permission slip. And in that requirement, I discovered something sacred. The sanctified disconnect. It's what happens when you stop reaching back to be chosen. It's what happens when you speak your truth, not to be understood, but to be unburdened. I no longer carry the wounds of conversations I never had. I don't perform for approval that was never mine to begin with. I'm not bleeding from a blade I didn't swing. And I'm not picking up pricks with somebody else's name on them. So to every woman still haunted by the echoes of someone else's unhealed mouth, repeat after me. I require love without damage. I require softness without penalty. I require a life that feels like mine. Let them live with what they say. Let them sit with what they lost. But you, beloved, you live free. I hope that moves something in you. And I'm going to share a story from my Tia Nikki era called The Man Who Brought His Fist to Peace. Once upon a marital morning, I met a man who brought his fist to peace. It was a family, a woman, a man, and their 2 young adult children, visiting Mexico on a scouting trip, deciding whether this could be home. The wife was open, kind, and willing to listen and yield. She came with curiosity. He came with armor. I remember his words like a punch I didn't dodge. I wake up every morning with my armor on, ready to fight the world. And there it was, the indoctrination, the American blueprint printed directly on his nervous system. Fight first, breathe later, if ever, because I deserve to. I could have challenged him. I could have told him that Mexico isn't built for that type of war. That here, there's no battleground, just Villa Mercado. That this land offers something far more disarming than any weapon. It offers ease. But I didn't. I held my peace. I let Merida speak. Over 5 days, I watched the wall crack. It was subtle, a softer tone when he spoke, a longer look at the trees. Less posturing, more presence. His fist unclenched, not because I told him to, but because the soul here whispered and required something his soul hadn't heard in years. You don't have to fight to be free. By the time they left, he was lighter, not just in body, but in being. And though I kept my distance to protect my own energy, I still did my job. I showed up. I got it. I watched the country do what it does. Restore the soul. One surrendered moment at a time. I think they moved back to Mexico. I hope they did. But whether or not they stayed, I know this. That man met himself. And I'll always hold that memory close in my heart's rearview mirror. A reminder that sometimes my work wasn't loud. It wasn't confrontational or grand. It was quiet. It observed. It was the sacred act of holding space long enough for someone else to drop the weight. That was the Tia Nikki era, and wow, what an era it was. So remember, you no longer deserve to be happy. You require it. And that's the frequency we are claiming from here on out. You feel that? Good. Let's breathe it in together. And I thank you again to Justin Scott on TikTok for planting this seed. This Velvet Reed was born because of you. Change is current. Evolution is optional. Always choose you. Make it a requirement. Until next time, speak it, write it, require it. Nikki the Oracle.